Who made God? Is a question that sometimes parents are faced with by their own children, or teachers at madrasa are questioned at certain occasions. The recognition emerges, and that is when it comes to a child throughout their early stages, they come forward with some tricky questions sometimes. They ask questions that could be awkward or difficult to answer, placing the mother or a father in a more difficult position than they would like to be. Without a shadow of a doubt, in the world today, in different communities, you speak to parents. Parents will tell you and I of the challenge that many of them are facing in this journey of parenthood. In the idea that this spectacular role that mothers and fathers have, especially those of the believers, is today being placed under the spotlight. There are those who are concerned and worried about the future of their children, concerned because of the bombardment of thoughts and ideologies and movements, for example, in the Muslim world and in the Western world. There are those who worry about, for example, the lack of connection of their children, their daughters and their sons, with the religion of Islam. There are those who worry about friends and their influence upon their own children. And therefore, parenting, arguably, in this day and age, is a major challenge, but one that, without a shadow of a doubt, parents should embrace and, dare I say, enjoy, in the recognition that there is much reward that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants to those parents, the mothers and the fathers, that embrace these challenges and begin to look at modern ways in which they can enhance parenthood and establish their duties. Because I tell you, sometimes you hear some stories which are true but quite strange. In India, there was a young man who took his parents to court. Why? He said, they did not ask for my permission when they brought me into this world, and therefore I must sue them. I tell you, this person is not as bad as the individual in Nebraska in the 1970s, famously in America. He said, I must sue God the Almighty because he's putting me through much difficulty in life, and therefore he must be put to trial. The court was dismissed because the person or the being that is being accused cannot be found and does not have an address. In the recognition that today one of the difficulties that parents face are questions. Not only questions regarding faith, by the way. Questions regarding, for example, how babies are made from young children. Question regarding relationships. Question regarding politics and the environment. We recognize that questions play an integral role in the lives of children. And many of us see them innocently presenting these questions. I tell you, sometimes you face these questions and you wonder, how are you able to answer? I remember a few months ago, I took my 6-year-old daughter to a funeral where I was conducting the Salatul Mayyit and the funeral rites. She observed for the first time in her life. Then in the car she asked me, why is the person who has left this world covered in white cloth? Why do you have to wash his body? Why do you place this body inside the earth? These are questions that may be strange for you and I, but children are inquisitive. They wish to find out, isn't it? Without a shadow of a doubt. That's why I remember reading that once a child in church was taking for the first time to see a wedding. He looked at the bride who was approaching and entering the church. He asked his mother, why is the bride wearing white? His mother told him, white is the color of happiness, is the color of joy. He then immediately saw the groom wearing black and asked him, why is the groom wearing black? In the recognition that these questions require a certain type of thinking, a way to address. The Independent newspaper in the United Kingdom in 2017 came forward with a study. It says on average, a parent is asked, both parents are asked 73 questions a day by their children. How many? 73 questions. In the recognition that this is not a small area of our lives. It's not something necessarily to take for granted. And it is an important segment of parenting and dealing with the future generation. Why? Because the answers we give, the way we respond, the communication between the parents and the children plays a major factor in the way that they understand aspects, especially when it comes to faith. Because I tell you, there are children who ask, does God eat or drink? Does he get married? Where is he now? For example, these are, despite you and I as adults, for example, dismissing these questions, important for a child. Amir al-Mu'mineen wa Imam al-Muttaqeen Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi famously says, the heart of a child is like an uncultivated piece of land. Whatever you place in it, it will grow, isn't it? Therefore, when you and I are approached by an individual who is a child and asks, who created God? Who made God? Yes, imagine now you're sitting here and somebody asks you this question. What would be your response? How will we approach this question in as far as our children are concerned? I would like to look at this area by answering and divulging into the following questions. Number one, what is the usual age range in which children ask these questions? Number two, what is the normal or incorrect way in which parents respond? There are 5 incorrect ways that people utilize when it comes to conversing and discussing this area or any other area with their children. Number 3, how do we answer this question? Who made God? Is there an answer to it as adults? And how do we indeed put this towards the children in a way that they can understand? And number 4, how did the Ahlulbayt alayhim salam deal with their children? How did they communicate with their children? How did they answer the questions of their children? Including Sayyidatul Nisa, Fatima Zahra al-Batul, salawatullahi wa salamu alayha. But before looking at these questions, there is a need for you and I to understand that when it comes to the school of Ahlulbayt, it's the school of embracing and encouraging the presentation of questions. Our motto is the Quran and its invitation to people in the incident of Mubahala. And that is what? فَقُلْ تَعَالَوْا. Come, ask the question, isn't it?